Today we're talking the Marvels. Is it right for a family outing or date night?
Stay tuned to find out.
Hello and welcome to Couple Chat.
Where we
Parents.
discuss topics for you.
Parents. I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie. Let's chat.
So, the Marvels.
Yes.
Was it marvelous? To you?
Mrs. Maisel? No. That's a chat for another day.
I never want to talk about that show again.
I know. Yeah, you fell off. It's okay.
Because it got bad. But that's not what we're here to talk about anyway.
No, we're here to talk the Marvels.
Woo!
So, as per, Marvel Cinematic Universe or MCU lore, you kind of have to watch it all, right? And
they did do an interesting thing in this movie, though, where they actually did give you a lot of context.
Yes.
They did do flashbacks.
Yes.
They actually recapped pretty much all of Captain Marvel.
Right.
Which is good because there's so much these days. Mm-hmm. And we're doing so much now where it's like, we didn't even think about watching it again.
No, and it's so funny because we're those type of people that's like, oh yeah, we're ramping up to see this thing. Like, let's watch everything precursor.
Right.
Like, I mean, Captain America, we did that with. Black Panther, we did that with. All these Avenger movies. Like, we'll do that just to, like, refresh our memory. But I was really glad, even for the Miss Marvel storyline, like right. Kamala Khan, they really went into as much detail for her story as they possibly could and still keeping it grounded in the Marvels movie, which I really enjoyed. The only one that felt a little empty was Rambo.
I honestly was going to say that.
Yeah.
I felt like they totally, and maybe it's because hers deals with so much that really doesn't matter because it's WandaVision,
Yeah.
So it's like, she always kind of felt shoehorned into that show. And for them to get into it just would have been too much. They did mention it, and they kind of like joked around like, yeah, I got my powers from a witch's hex, so like it was talked about, but that was it. Right. Like exactly what you said with Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, they literally are showing scenes from those.
Right. And even like touching base on like their personal lives.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers with Goose and like what she's dealing with and her connection with Fury still.
Yeah.
And then you're seeing Kamala with her family and everything going on still in Jersey City.
Yeah.
So
you definitely need to I think this is the first time, maybe Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness too, but I think this is the first time where if you didn't watch these Marvel shows, you're lost.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Captain Marvel wasn't in any of the shows.
No.
But everything that happened with Fury was in a show.
That's true. I didn't even think about that too.
All this undertone with everything going on. I was like, oh, but it just, I don't know. It felt really nice to like have him not really seem affected by it, or maybe it even happened before it.
Yeah, it's hard to say where it lands in the timeline now.
Yeah.
We're in that point again where it's just like there's so much content and it's so hard to follow sometimes.
Yeah.
They're just throwing so much at us. And then, you have the writer's strike and you have
SAG-AFTRA strike and everything.
And then you have all the dates being moved around and like movies were supposed to come out at this time and that time and they change everything around so much. It's like if they had a chronological order that they were going to release things in, it's not, I don't even think it exists anymore,
Yeah, no. But yeah, I think overall I really liked their story arcs and how they really kept them grounded. It didn't feel like a superhero movie for the three main women.
Yeah.
And I feel like it didn't feel like a women empowerment movie, like certain moments that we've had in the cinematic universe previously.
It wasn't as forced.
It didn't feel as forced, yeah. And it wasn't like that moment in Infinity War or in Endgame where like both of them, like it just didn't feel like that, like forced moment because there was a reason they were all connected. And that
not only
was
that,
cool.
but you already knew this was a movie you were going into knowing, hey, this is three powerful women within the MCU that are going to be the leads of this movie. It's not like it was shoehorned. It's not like they weren't meant to be together. It's,
Right.
you know, everything was led up to this.
Right.
You know, so it was interesting,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that it wasn't a forced story. It didn't need forced women empowerment.
Mm-mm.
It was just a story that kind of grew naturally as they've progressed in the MCU.
Right.
And what's interesting too is Nick Fury, who has really played a supporting character throughout the whole MCU,
Mm-hmm.
is here still.
Yeah.
And he doesn't feel like he shouldn't be. He doesn't feel like a thorn in their side. Sam Jackson, like, whether he's a man or not, like, he like transcends like sexuality. I don't know like how to explain it.
He's kind of like a he seems very pan. Like, he just kind of rides this line of like, it doesn't matter his sexuality, it doesn't matter his interest, because that's never come into play until recently.
Yes.
But then again, it doesn't at the same time. So that's a little tidbit for Secret Invasion if y'all haven't seen that. But
it's not good.
Well, you know, make it a drinking game or something. Maybe. I don't know.
I love Emilia Clarke.
Yeah.
I really do. But everything she seems to be in, and I hate saying it, she's a wonderful person, and I know she's dealt with a lot in her life, and I love her. I really do.
It's the writing, and that's the thing. It's not her fault. It's not Sam's fault. It's just...
She gets sucked into these things that, like, I know exactly how she feels. Holy crap, I'm going to be in that? Yeah. I want in, of course.
Yeah, I want to be in the MCU and the Star Wars U and the...
Star Wars U.
And the GOTU.
It's the Star Wars G.
Whatever.
Galaxy, Jackie. Actually, you know, well, I think it's long enough. I was going to say, I think it's long enough. Dave Filoni has now created the SWU because he has brought us into a new galaxy.
So far away.
It's a universe now, guys. Star Wars is a universe.
Mm-hmm. He broke that barrier. Anyway, back to MCU. I really appreciated that part of it because I was kind of nervous about that, you know, and that
the women empowerment part.
Yeah, just like having it being kind of like shoved down my throat and your throat and like the whole audience. But like, I'm really just glad that it flowed nicely. It felt like a really feel good movie.
But also, I know you got a point going, but also there were some really great emotional beats in it.
Oh yeah,
and I think it comes with, as you're saying, the character development. They really tried to focus on the characters in this movie. Mm-hmm. It wasn't so much about the spectacle. I even felt like the driving force of the movie really didn't matter that much.
No.
The story was really about the three women, how they connected, and their trauma and how they have joint trauma that they're trying to deal with together.
Right.
And I thought that was a beautiful thing to do because you don't see that a lot. No. Guardians did a good job with that, especially Volume 3. They all have joint trauma, and everything that happens with Rocket is like them now, their best friend is in trouble and they uncover his trauma and it becomes theirs.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of the same situation in this.
But this is more disjointed because they've never... Like, none of them know about each other yet.
But they do at the same time.
Yeah, of course. With all the intel and everything that Saber has.
Right.
Absolutely.
It was, I felt that was interesting. And I'm glad to see, you know, you could say grounded in a movie about space.
Yeah. But seriously, but it felt that way.
Yeah.
And I said it in our reaction chat, you know, there were some moments there that really hit a little too hard recently, and it just felt relatable in a weird sort of like too close to home way for certain parts. But
Spider-Man Close to Home, is that what the next one's going to be called?
You're ridiculous.
I'm trying to lighten the mood.
I know. But you know, each woman's story is so unique and yet so similar. And that's kind of where, like, for me, I had those moments where I'm literally bawling in the thing and squeezing your hand. And, like, you're probably thinking, wow, she's crazy.
Well, it's funny. I think this is the moment, and this is why we're chatting about these things, right? Like, we really didn't talk about this. We had that little reaction, then we just haven't talked about it.
No.
But honestly, it didn't really connect to me until you were saying it now, and you're obviously getting emotional. There are two major things in this movie that I now understand why you had that connection. And I get it. For some reason, I don't know. It just didn't hit me the same way, and we have the same related thing going on. I don't want to make this like, hey, we can't tell you this stuff. It's just we don't want to. Honestly, it's more about the spoilers in the movie.
But it's also like personal stuff. It's not our stories to share either.
Yeah. Mainly the one thing that I can say is obviously Goose is in this. She's a cat. It's a cat. I don't know what the heck Goose is.
Goose is a cat.
Yeah. Well,
creature.
Yeah, right. But like that affected us.
For sure.
It was the same thing with like Ahsoka a little bit because, Sabine has a loath cat. But, we just lost Kala not that long ago. And now this time was harder because Captain Marvel has seemingly a normal cat until it's not, and we know it's not.
Right.
But it's like, that was hard. So I get that part of it. And then obviously the whole other thing. So I understand that. It did hit me a little bit, but it never this movie never got too down on you.
Right.
Like as soon as it was getting emotional, it flipped the switch on you and they're like, hey, we got stuff to do and let's throw some comedy into this and whatever. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's not. But I think it worked really well for this movie.
I think it also makes it more grounded and real because like for me, like there are people in my life, including yourself, who in an awkward situation or when someone can be upset, you'll make a joke.
Yeah.
Or someone will come up with a memory of someone and be like, yeah, do you remember that time when? And like everyone can kind of chuckle. And it's nice to see that in film, being able to like represent. There's two ways to grieve. There's two ways to talk about this situation that you're in that can be so hard in the moment for the person.
They show that there are three ways to grieve. As you stated, you have the comedy side of things. You have just letting all your emotions go. And then you have those that don't know how to deal with it and bottle things up. And I found that very interesting because the three of them grieve differently. And they show you that a lot with Monica and her character and the way that she deals with what happened to her mom and Captain Marvel leaving and all that stuff. Like very interesting. Didn't even take into consideration that they would really go that deep into this, but they do. Yeah. And it's great. That's a big anchor to this story. So.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, I thought the story was really well done. It's kind of cool. And what I liked about it most was it's separate. Like it was its own little thing. It was its own entity.
For the most part.
Well, you had to know these people beforehand.
Yeah.
But there was no... this affects everything.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
This is an Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania where it's like they're fighting Kang and Kang is being groomed to be the big baddie
in the next Avenger.
Thanos, even though I don't think that's going to happen now.
Yeah.
Thanks to Jonathan Majors'
current
stupidity.
actions.
You know what? I'm not going to candy coat it.
Yeah.
The guy's a moron and this is the problem with celebrities.
Yeah.
It's just... Well, you know what? I can't even say celebrities. Men in general like take advantage of their power, and it's sad. It really is sad. And you're gonna let something like this. You're in the middle of the precipice of your career, and you literally are destroying it because you can't handle yourself. I'm sorry. I don't want to get like that, but it frustrates me. Maybe because I'm nowhere near like that. So I hate seeing other men being that way.
Yeah, of course. And then the women who suffered all these years hiding these things and then coming out and being called names and acting like they were
he was caught in the moment,
Good.
not
Unfortunate
for her.
For her.
Yeah.
But good.
Yeah, no, I know. But regardless, so these actors who get to that point, even actresses too, everybody does stupid things like this, but they get to this point where it's like you're now ruining things for more than just yourself. You selfish
person.
Person. That's what I was gonna say.
You selfish thing.
You selfish thing. Anyway.
Yeah, but I liked that. Yes, you need to kind of know what's going on before.
Correct.
But this movie wasn't the ripple effect. It wasn't like you said, there wasn't any new big baddie that wasn't helped or defeated or fought in this film with a completion. Like there was a total beginning, climax, end. This was like a really well-rounded script movie. There were a few moments where I was just like, why? Literally, you and I sat there in the theater. Everyone else is, and we're, why? Like
you'll know exactly what we're talking about if and when you see the movie. Coming from it on the back end. So again, you'll know what we're talking about. It's fine.
I'm
not like even that upset about it.
No,
it was so goofy at the moment, but like even like when you get to the back end of the moment, I'm like,
course.
All right, whatever, Marvel.
Sure,
like,
Marvel.
You're just silly.
You're
just silly. You're being silly now.
And I had mentioned cats. Guys, listen. If you like cats, go and see this movie, even just for those moments with cats, because Goose is amazing.
Sure.
Cats.
CGI cats,
it's
mostly.
Fine.
There are a few.
They're real cats.
There were moments where I was like, maybe that one's real. But I feel very far in
They
between.
start real.
They start real. Yeah. Anyway,
and my only other point was going to be like set pieces. Like I felt like that is really where the film lacked.
I agree.
Yeah, they're in space. Like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. No, like Endgame had space, and Endgame was gorgeous.
Amazing.
Even Infinity War. Like there have been other Marvel movies that have been
Guardians.
That's what I mean. There have been others that have been in this environment. Yeah, maybe not on this specific planet or that specific planet, but when you show characters flying in and out of a ship and it looks
questionable.
Quite questionable. Yeah. And I'm just like, like, why does she look plastic here? And then all of a sudden she's walking and seemingly real. Like, very strange.
You know,
how
I think
that was.
I think they made it very hard for themselves when designing Captain Marvel's live action,
like her lighting
powers.
Mm-hmm.
She just it's hard to make look real, I feel like, and it's something that you can tell they are struggling with, but they're doing like their darndest. Maybe I don't know. I'm not on that side of things. I'm not a VFX artist. I don't really know how that stuff goes per se. I obviously know a little, but I wouldn't know like exactly the details. And you know, as the others fall into that category too, because they are all in similar power. They all have similar powers.
Right.
You know, it's hard. Now you have 3 of them in the same movie that have similar powers. You start to notice it more.
Absolutely. And there were just a few jarring moments where I was just like, oh my God, that looked bad.
Bad.
No, cats.
Meowed.
Meowed. But yeah, that was just my only qualm about it really was just like, guys, you like the real sets, obviously like Jersey City and like certain areas, that was fine.
Yeah.
But there were just those few moments where it's like, I get it, you're in space, but like this shouldn't look like that. I bet you a deep fake could take that over and do it like real nice, real fast. Like
but you were mentioning set pieces.
Right.
And on that, like the movie didn't have any moments that were like really noteworthy. Come on.
The one was pretty traumatic.
I don't even know what you mean. But like we're coming from, this is the problem with just being compounded and like just thrown so many different things. There have been so many movies. Sometimes it even gets hard to remember what happened in some of them.
Yeah.
But like you remember the big set pieces in some of these and it's hard to come back from some of them. And then you see some of these smaller movies and it's like, meh. But again, I feel like this movie won because of the character development and the drama between the characters. Yeah. I think they understood that it didn't need big set pieces. So that's cool. I'm glad that they didn't, have to worry about that so much.
Same.
One more thing. And I think this is a good ending point, and I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Cool.
So this is something that's been in the trailers. It's not really a spoiler or anything, but the way their powers work between them for the majority of the movie, I thought it was really cool that they found a way to do something interesting and different than has been done ever before. How do you feel about it?
Oh, yeah. And I loved how they explained it. I loved how they tried to like figure it out. Mm-hmm. I just loved that whole thing because it was so cool to see them, 3 individuals who have never worked with anyone else before, who I mean, they're all in their own little worlds. They're, you know, teen Kamala, Rambo trying to get her stuff figured out and who she is, and, you know, Carol out in space in the middle of nowhere fighting with her battles. Like, it was really cool to see them come together and be able to actually put those differences aside and actually work in synchrony. It was really
forced.
awesome.
It was forced upon them.
It was forced upon them, and at the end of the day, that's what made them a golden team. Like, I think that's what made them successful, and I think it's definitely something that, like you said, it's different. It wasn't something that I would have even expected.
Yeah. And it was just cool to see like that kind of, they found an interesting way to turn like fights on its head a little bit that we've never seen before and you can't really do again. Mm-mm. So it was cool. And I even feel like they didn't utilize it as much as they could have.
Right.
I feel like it could have been done even more and it would have been fine. Like it wouldn't have been overused.
Same.
So if that's my only complaint with the movie, that, you know, I would have loved to see more of that, like changing between characters thing. But,
yeah. And then as per usual, MCU, there is a mid-credit scene.
Oh yeah. So if you are seeing the movie,
wait.
Yeah, wait for the mid-credits.
Mm-hmm.
There is a scene. Very important, seemingly.
Yeah.
But no end credit scene, believe it or not, guys.
Yeah.
And we're not throwing you for a loop here. This isn't something we're like, hey, we saw it and you guys won't because we're telling you.
Yeah.
Those 5 people that watch or listen to Couple Chat
right now.
Yeah. But yeah, that I was just surprised as you were, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because there's so many people in the theater waiting for this end credit.
Yeah.
Like the last, you know,
of
and
us.
No. Wrong podcast.
Sorry.
It's okay.
That'd be great.
Anyway, at the end, like this one guy stands up and goes, "That's it?" And I was like, well, at least there wasn't nothing. It's just a sound. And it's really not even like that important of a sound, in my opinion. But
I don't even remember what it was, honestly, because that's how important it was.
Oh my gosh. It was nothing. And I mean, you can even look it up if you really want to hear the sound or hear what the sound was, but it wasn't anything. But yeah, that mid-credit scene is really exciting. And it just, the moment it started, I was like, hold on. And then like jumping in my seat, getting all excited, clapping. Like, I'm very excited for what's to come. But
I mean,
that's all we could say because we don't want to spoil nothing.
Nope.
But yeah, I think for a family, it's a great movie.
We didn't even say that, right?
If it's something that you've been following, like Matt was telling me earlier, there was a family there that they'd been going to see all the Marvel movies in theaters, and like the guy's son is what you said, 15.
Yeah,
and that's cool. I don't think anyone younger, because like there's some themes in this that are a little hard to handle. I think MCU is just hard for little kids to understand, especially depending on the main character.
Yeah, but I mean, I think 7 and up is fine to watch these movies. Yeah, sure, they're not gonna understand everything, but
no,
I mean, even Nate, you know, if he would sit in a theater, like he understands movies at this point, and he's only 3. Sure. So I mean, I would even say you might be able to squeeze out 5, but it's all about attention span, you know.
Right.
So I think 7 and up was fine. Can go see this, but
and
we saw it on date night.
We saw it on date night, and I was just gonna say, we had a great time.
Yes.
And we laughed, we cried.
Not beforehand. We had a very long day, and we missed our dinner plans because our daughter got Kaksaki. Maybe. That's what the urgent care said.
Our daughter had a fever.
Yes.
And 2 hours of sitting in an urgent care, found out she might have Coxsackie.
Yeah.
Because there's no more signs since. Daycare.
Ha 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 ha. Anyway, so that is The Marvels. Go see it. It's more enjoyable than most of the new MCU films. Yeah. I mean, nothing's going to beat Guardians right now. If you've seen Guardians Volume 3, that's just like creme de la creme of Marvel these days anyway.
Sure.
And, nothing can beat No Way Home. Like, that's just like where it's at.
Yeah.
So the movie's good, but not the best.
No, but not the worst.
Touche. And on that note, I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie. Here are the Hahns signing out.
Thank you so much for listening to Couple Chat. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify or YouTube Music, and check out our YouTube page to see this episode in video. Thank you to Hahn Films for editing and producing this episode. Talk to you soon.